Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Tom and Jerry. And this is from director Tim Story, who's probably most famous for like Barbershop and the Fantastic Four movie from the earlier 2000s. And this film is written by Kevin Costello, who previously had written Brigsby Bear, which would get me excited because I love Brigsby Bear. And then I watched this film and definitely was not excited. I don't know what the hell this movie is supposed to be. It's very interesting how the tone of this film is set up, because basically what you have is every animal in this film is animated. They're a cartoon in the real world, and even some of the the production design, like these buildings and stuff like that, look exaggerated and look like in the background it could be a cartoon, and it looks really cheesy. It comes off really cheesy looking, and like the animation isn't something that's like super impressive. It looks overly sheeny and just fake and awkward in the actual earthly space that they put them into the real world. And Tim Story's films are very like overly bright, just kind of dull and bland in terms of style, and this definitely felt that way. And the extremely brightness really was a strange contrast with the animated figures on film, so it was a little awkward. And then there's a lot of ambitious musical choices and stuff like that they throw into this film that feel really out of place in a Tom and Jerry movie. And like, of course they had to do crap like Tom flosses, and you're just like, why? This film tried to feel cool with its musical choices and stuff like that and the flossing, but it just came off as cheap and weird and didn't work. The pacing though, the first 10 minutes of this is so frantic and just so all over the place that I was just getting it took me out of the movie so badly that if I were a person that did stop movies in the middle of them, I would have turned this off after 5 minutes. And then wouldn't have experienced the whole rest of the film, which was not very interesting. The whole plot is Tom and Jerry are in this hotel, and Jerry is in the hotel. He's a mouse, so they don't want him there. And the hotel hires Tom to try to get him. And you have Chloe Grace Moretz, who's this young, con woman who tricks her way into this interview to get this job working at this hotel. And she's not particularly likable, and there's not anything particularly interesting about her, nor any of the actual human characters. Like Michael Pena feels like a worse version of Skinner from Ratatouille. And honestly, the only human character that I thought was pretty entertaining was actually Rob Delaney, who's the general manager of the hotel, and he just has this just this silly grin and just a way about him that made him feel cartoony and weird, which fit into a Tom and Jerry movie. But all these human characters, there's this weird rich couple that are supposed to be getting married, and that's supposed to be the big event at this hotel, and it was just, I didn't care. I didn't feel invested in a single one of these human characters. And the only saving grace is you occasionally get some fun, crazy, over-the-top gags with Tom and Jerry. And then you're just I could have just watched a Tom and Jerry cartoon and would have been just as satisfied. Actually, I would have been more satisfied because I would have been just happy with the gags. But this film feels so weird and just out of place, and in the end, it's bland, it's boring, it's forgettable, and after the just frantic first 10 minutes, the pacing just dies, and you're just when is this over? And if it, why didn't they just make a Tom and Jerry movie? Because it's supposed to be a Tom and Jerry movie, but it's not really about Tom and Jerry. But they didn't make any interesting characters to make up for the fact that this really isn't centered on Tom and Jerry most of the time. So in the end, Tom and Jerry feels like a real big waste of potential, and a film that I definitely am not going to be checking out. Like, I'm sure little kids will find some enjoyment out of it, but in the end, I think this is kind of just a disposable, forgettable film. But those are my thoughts on Tom and Jerry. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.